And that was after making Dean's List and all the prerequisite classes. So I was pretty good at the writing and the speaking, but I was no good with the numbers, which is ironic because now I've been doing bookkeeping for my own publishing business for 11 years. I started a carpet cleaning business for 12 years and did all the bookkeeping. And now my daughter, who's a social media influencer on TikTok and Instagram, I do her bookkeeping for the last 5 years. By the way, she's 21 years old. She started when she was 16. She just bought a house in Boca last week. And she's remodeling the whole kitchen. We talked about quartz today, paying cash. So she's getting, because she does a lot of food. By the way, it's Amanda Bagley, Mandy, M-A-N-D-I .Bagley on Instagram. She's going to hit 1 million in about 4 or 5 weeks on Instagram. 2.2 now on TikTok. 2.2 million on TikTok. She does fashion, fitness, fashion, food, and faith. And so my career took me all over the place in the floor covering world. So I built that carpet cleaning business up to having 5 trucks on the road and 15 employees. And I sold that business when I was 28 to a Paul Davis Systems water damage restoration franchise in Rochester, New York, which is where I'm from. And then I went to work for the carpet mills and the fiber producers, so DuPont, Mohawk, Shaw. Some of you are nodding your heads. I'm in the building trade, so my guest Kayla is here tonight. And invited Kayla, so a lot of you I've been networking with for several years, so it's kind of weird that I'm up here talking about networking because you guys could write the book and talk about it probably better than I can. But anyway, I sold that business, went into outside sales, right? Selling carpet to the retailers, and I got promoted into managing salespeople. That's totally different than selling, by the way. Managing salespeople? Oh boy. So I got trial by fire. I got promoted, and it took me to San Francisco from Rochester, New York, to lead 2 teams, 33 high-performing sales reps selling high-end commercial carpet. And I got a lesson on leadership there, big time. But I was also a networker, right? So I would have to go out with my team, and I covered places like San Francisco, Las Vegas, Reno. So I don't drink, but I entertain people who do. So lots of networking, lots of dinners, lots of shows, lots of trade association booths, and big convention booths. I've worked a lot of those things. So I'm not going to force you all to get through the 10 Commandments tonight, because this is actually an hour-and-a-half workshop. I'm not going to do that. We'll just see where this goes. Maybe we get past 1. Maybe we get past 3. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The result is that we all get something out of the conversation tonight. And so, so I'll backtrack because this is important. After I started my sales career with Shaw, I went back to college and got a master's in theology, of all things. By the way, Shaw Industries paid for that master's degree because it was a leadership degree. So I was getting in classes with pastors and future pastors that were leading hundreds and even thousands of congregants. So in a seminary setting, you're getting not only biblical 18 months of church history from resurrection to the 21st century, but then you get into research and writing and how to start a 501c and some very practical ministry things. That's how I got into publishing, everybody. I took my master's thesis, which is just a 25-page Word document, and in 2015, I uploaded it to Kindle. And I learned that, you can put it in an ebook. Okay, and then it says, do you want it in a paperback? Okay, so I did a paperback. And then it says, do you want it, I keep hitting this, do you want it in an audiobook? So, okay, yeah, and then you can farm out the audiobook to different narrators that can audition for you, and you don't even have to pay for that. You do a 50-50 royalty split with them. And Amazon handles all of that. All of it. Yeah, they act as the third-party arbitrator for the narrator and the author with a website called acx.com. I'm not going to bore you with that, But I started to research some of the Dead Sea Scrolls because my curiosity beyond the Bible got the best of me. And I found this provocative book that was found in the Qumran Caves excavation of the Dead Sea Scrolls in Israel called the Book of Enoch. Now, the Book of Enoch is a very provocative book that talks a lot about Genesis chapter 6 and the giants and the Nephilim. And once you go down that rabbit trail, you don't go back. Now, in 2016, I wanted to hear a really good semi-dramatized version of the Book of Enoch, and it didn't exist on Audible. So you know that I already knew how to do da-da-da-da-da. So I felt led by God to put out the very first semi-dramatized Book of Enoch in 2016. And I got first mover advantage of it. It's been #1 ever since. It's had over 150,000 downloads. So thank you to God for that. Because of that, I ended up doing about 35 more projects, and I've helped other authors, #1 selling authors, by the way, get their books in audiobooks. So I have the audiobook rights to several #1 selling authors. So that just gives you a precursor of a little bit about me. I do have some books up here. I got the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, the first part of the Book of Enoch called the Book of Watchers. Very provocative. I put my own commentary on those, and so we'll raffle those off too tonight. But let's get started. Any questions I can answer for you before we get into networking or anything you want to cover in networking? Or comment or throw some fruit at me or vegetables? Yeah? Can you give her the mic? Or?
So, Robert,
Yeah.
What would you say is the most important thing to do when networking?
Wow. The first thing that comes to my mind is be genuine, right? Because, and I don't see it much in Orlando, but there's times where people aren't genuine with you. You kind of know it, but I think that's the key, right? I mean, Brian, what would you say?
I think the walk, you want to be genuine, but you want to be offering.
You want to be genuine
And you want to be trying to think of solutions when you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Anytime you can contribute to them with no expectation of getting something back, that adds to genuineness.
Brian's probably the best at that. He's probably way better at that than I am. But yeah, that's a good answer.
And by
I'll
the
take
way,
Brian's answer.
Robert blows smoke with the best of them.
Okay. All right, we're going to keep moving with that. Anyone else have any questions you want? We'll cover? All right. You have a question. Tabo's got a question.
Great. You'll be the perfect for this.
Yeah.
And you said it. In venues where you've been networking for, in my case, a decade, where you know most of the people,
Yeah.
How do you break the ice? How do you go about it? Make it interesting. keep it going. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I already know it. What's the icebreaker for you? What will you?
I don't really have an icebreaker. We'll talk about elevator speeches, right? Because I think that's important. I do coaching. So I'm going to hand out a little piece of paper with a QR code on it that you can feel free to scan and do a quick survey, take you a couple of minutes, and then I'll follow up with you for a free one-on-one coaching. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I find that even though I know a few of you in the room, there's still people in here I don't know, right? And so I look, and I wrote about this in the book, I look at networking as a jigsaw puzzle. Just think of it as a big jigsaw puzzle. Every networking event you go to is one more piece of that puzzle you're going to put into that jigsaw puzzle. So it's kind of like you're kind of led by fate or faith, right, to go to an event. And when you do, something magic happens, right? I joined the Citrus Club because of that. And, every time I go, even if it's for 30 minutes, I will meet somebody new or I'll see somebody I haven't seen in a long time. And it just magic happens. It's just electrifying, right? And then I'm able to introduce one person to another person to another person. So that's the key, right? Is I like to be the connector in the room where I'm introducing you to you, bringing Kayla in tonight. She's my guest. She didn't know about this. I don't even remember inviting you, but however I did, I'm glad, okay, Gabriella did. But, I mean, somehow we got to her. Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Robert. He is a consummate connector. He's got over 20,000 connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So kudos to him.
Yeah, thank you. I just hit 20K last week, so thank you for recognizing that, Brian. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, we might only get to like one command, but that's okay. That's good. That's a good discussion. Yeah, go.
Hey, by the way. So, Robert, one of the things that I'm noticing when I'm going out is the difference between one-on-one and sales appointments. Sometimes I'm going to these events, doing a one-on-one, all I'm being is sold on that conversation. What are you recommending in that situation?
Repeat the question again.
What is the etiquette when you're having a one-on-one? Is it an opportunity to connect and get to know about you, or is it a sales opportunity for you to try to sell your widget or your service?
I try, the more I network, the less I'm selling. We'll leave it at that. When I first started networking, I wanted to sell everything under the sun that I had to sell. By the way, I still am in the flooring space. I work currently for a wholesale distributor of flooring, and I sell to the trades, right? So this morning, I just joined the membership committee of GOBA, which is the Greater Orlando Builders Association. Many of you should look into that now that Kayla and I are on the membership, so ask us about that. How many people do you think came to that event at noon today? A couple hundred. Yeah. Right? And so I don't like to lead with, I mean, I have to tell people what I do, right? But I don't have to lead with, how can I sell you? I think what Brian said is the key is, how can I help you, right? What's a good customer for you is always a great question to ask somebody. And what's a good business connection I can make for you, okay? Did I answer your question? Okay, awesome. Yeah, all right.
Sure.
Yeah, go.
Hold on.
What is the ideal number of networking groups to be a part of? And like what, I don't know how to say this.
Yeah.
Different, like industry versus nonprofit category, maybe?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I have a good balance of nonprofit, for-profit, trade associations, and chambers. Now, it depends on your lot in life. If you have little kids, that's going to be hard to pull all that off. You're going to have to be very choosy with your networking time, right? I'm an empty nester now, and so I am networking in several trade associations in my industry, but also I'm on a couple nonprofits, and that's nice because I can connect the two. And I'm also on the board of governors at the Citrus Club, so that's a great place to take people for lunch that I meet at a networking function, right? That's how I met you and Leah and got on the board of High Five Thrive, is just hanging out at the Citrus Club. And when I go to the Citrus Club, I go to every table and I talk to people, and so I don't know if I answered your question or not, but you have to feel your own bandwidth, right? Because only you know, and your spouse and your family knows what you can handle. And you don't want to be over the top with that, because it's no good to be out of balance in your personal life and be out there professionally knocking it dead when you're about to have a divorce okay? Because that can happen. We'll stop right there. Okay. Sir, did I answer your question? Kind of. Okay, kind of. So, how many do I belong to? It would take me a while to think about it right now, because I'm involved with so many. I'm involved with 3 chambers, 2 trade associations. I'm on 3 board of directors, and of course, I'm part of the Citrus Club. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2, so I'm out a lot. It's conceivable on any Wednesday or Thursday night that I'm hitting 3 to 4 events that night, right? Yeah. And you're saying, well, that's good. Oh, how do you do that, right? You're just pop, 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 pop. Well, you have to, at some point, you have to say, look, I don't need to meet everybody in the room. Okay? You don't. Sometimes I just perch myself up at a table and just talk to whoever comes up to me. Because I don't have to work every room and meet every single person. I had to take that burden off of myself, because that's what I wanted to do, because I'm so social that it'd be like, I want to work the room, I want to meet everybody, I want to have a conversation with everybody. Sometimes that's just not feasible, especially in larger events. These are nice events that you put together, Gabrielle, because they're more intimate.
I don't have a question, but I was going to ask. I thought his was a great question, but
It was a great question.
yeah, I think you said one, bandwidth. What can you actually take on? Because if you can't take it on, what's the point of it? But then also, what are you gaining from those events you're going to?
Amen.
So if you're going to 6 events, but you're not gaining anything out of those 6 events, then what's the point? So that's not even a bandwidth issue. It's more, are you going to the right event? So maybe that's something to add on to that point as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's great. Yep. Right. Now, I mean, I just got offered to get on another board tonight, and then you've offered me to be on your thing, so I've gotten 2 offers to take on more responsibility. I'm like, I have to take stock of what I have now. I don't want to take too much on, because then I'm not going to be effective for the ones that I have committed to. And sometimes you may have to step down from something in order to take on something else. So that's what I would say is if you're finding that you're not effective or you're burned out, you certainly have to take a pause. And I think everybody in this room, I see you all out a lot, you have to take a break from networking. You have to have a couple of weeks where you just go, I'm not going out, unless you have to absolutely go out. It's really good to fast networking once in a while. Brian? Okay.
Would you
Just
agree? I got 2 things.
He's like, what? I mean, I can fast food, but I can't fast networking. No way.
Would you agree? I've got 2 things, that it depends on how your business is structured. If you have employees,
Yeah.
that allows you to go out and network,
Yeah.
and they do the work. And then it also depends on, that networking is a long game.
Yeah.
You have to build those relationships, so it's going to take a while. It's
Right.
not like you say, oh, I'm going to get a sale right now.
Right. It's a long game. Yep. Was that a question? Because I'm not sure how to answer
Yes.
it if it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Oh, is this a yes or no question? I love those.
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
Would I
Would you
agree?
Or would you not?
That it would.
That it depends on the structure of your business, how much you network.
Yeah.
If you're a solopreneur, you can't
Do it all.
do everything and
Right.
go work and get the product out. And then also, it's a long game. Networking is a long game.
I agree with that 1,000%. Yeah. Good question. All right.
We have time. One more question.
Well, yeah. Right here. This gentleman right here.
So what are some good post-networking activities that you can do to maximize your return on the investment you do networking?
Oh, that's great. I'm going to get into that on the 6th commandment. It's called follow-up. So we might just speak up to that after I go through this so I can answer your question. So that's a really good place to land. Are we timing this? Because I do have to stop at some point here. How much more time do we have? I don't, well, as I said, this thing could take an hour to present, but I can speed through it. I'm just going to go over the 10 commandments right now so you can see what they are. So it's define your goals, attend industry events. That's pretty common sense, right? Yeah. Defining your goals needs a little bit of context because each event you should have somewhat of a different goal that you want to get out of that. Like tonight, certainly you want to connect, but your goal might be to learn, That might be a goal for you. I try to keep my goals pretty simple when I go to a networking event. A lot of times I like to go in and meet the hosts first, thank them for putting on the event, like I did tonight with Gabriella. Before I leave, I always say goodbye to the host. That's pretty good etiquette, right? And so I always want to meet the host because the host is moving and shaking, right? And hey, all right. And then be approachable and friendly, right? So I can be overly friendly, so I have to put myself in check. Just be emotionally intelligent and socially intelligent with your personality. Like, your limits. I mean? You know what, when to stop and you need to, don't drink too much. I don't have to worry about that because I've been sober on July 11th. I stopped alcohol on July 11th, 1999. So thank you. So that's coming up, 26 years of no alcohol. That helps a lot for longevity in the long game. Because if you don't, you're out drinking every night. Just saying. Okay, didn't even think I was going to talk about that, but it is important to keep yourself in check on that. All right, you got to be healthy, because if you're not healthy, then you're not going to be networking very long anyway. And you don't want to be hungover to go to work the next day, Because let's face it, we're not turning networking into immediate cash that pays our bills, right? So you have to look at networking. I love what you said. It's an investment of your time, and it's a long game, right? Now, can you get business out of it? Absolutely. Just happened. I went to a ABC event a couple months ago, and I got a nice order out of somebody I met at that event I'd never met before. So it can happen. But we shouldn't expect that happens every time. Be elevator speech ready. That's always good. I like to practice my elevator speech because sometimes your elevator speech is different depending on the networking event that you're going to. And some of you have side gigs and side hustles on top of your side hustles. You have to figure out which side hustle am I going to pitch when you're handed the microphone. Huh? Right. So build a diverse network. Oh, yeah. Just because somebody's not your target customer or prospect, somebody else could introduce you to somebody that is. And so I like to say go to different, diverse networking events. Like I went to the Hispanic Chamber. I don't even speak Spanish. I took 4 years of it so I can understand a little. But, I got to meet some different people, and there were a lot of leaders from like municipalities and people that buy, interior stuff that I sell, right? So you never know. And to step out of your comfort zone and to go to something you've never been, that's important to do to try to get yourself out of the norm, right? Because I think, Tavo, you mentioned that. So go to something you've never been to. Go to Meetup or Eventbrite and go, I'm going to go pick this, which has nothing to do with me. You might even be a young executive or young leadership or something like that. And go. And you'll be surprised that you made some new connections there that you may never thought you'd make before that will be good for your business. And you'll meet somebody that can go, oh, I know who you need to meet, blah, 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 blah. Right? Happens all the time. Sweet. Number 6, follow-up. This gentleman right here had that great question about follow-up techniques. So, yeah. Every one of these needs follow-up, by the way, but we had to put follow-up as one of the commandments, just had to. By the way, Caleb Paul wrote the foreword to this book tonight, with this book here. Everybody know Caleb? Oh, some of you guys do, yeah. And he and I actually did this workshop together back in March. Utilizing social media. How many of you take your networking and actually use social media as an extension of your networking? Raise your hands, nice and high. Look at these people, keep them up. If you're not raising your hand, make sure before the night is out, talk to one or some of these about how they're utilizing their social media as an extension of their live networking. That's important, right? That's how I got 20,000 on LinkedIn. It also helped that I've been on LinkedIn since 2007. That does help. Cheater. I'm a cheater, right? All right, offer value. I think Brian hit on that. How can I help you, right? If you come into networking with a servant mindset, you will do very well, right? And then attend informal gatherings. Informal gatherings are like happy hours, things that aren't formally to do with like a trade association or an organization, something that's more informal. Because people have their guard down a little bit more. They're not as stuffy. They don't have all their peers or their boss around. So going to informal gatherings is really a good idea. And so you can figure out what's informal to you or what that means to you. To me, it means happy hours and I don't know. This might be considered more of an informal gathering, but you're making it more formal, which is good. I think this is great. Yeah. And then maintain relationships is that sort of follow-up process as well. If you're on my text list, how many of you get a text from me 1 or 2 times a month? Raise your hand, please. Hi, nice and high, raise them. If you got a text from me anytime this month, Kayla, did you get a text? You got a text? Okay. So, ping people often. Just reach out to them. Go through your texts and see who you haven't talked to in a while. I use the text to do that. And just say, hey, I was thinking about you. And that helps maintain relationships. People, by the way, marketing tip, every month someone doesn't hear from you, they forget about you 10%, Tava. Whoa. So if they haven't heard anything about Rock and Brews in 6 months, they forgot about you 60%. Yeah. And that's a tragedy now with social media. How can that? But that happens, right? So be intentional about your follow-ups and maintaining your relationships. It's very important that you do that. All right. I kind of want to go all the way to our follow-up conversation, which we will do, so that we can answer your question. What's your name? Alex? Alex, great question. Let's see what we got here. And nurture your connections. I talked a little bit about that. Generate leads and sales. Tips for follow-up, and you guys can help me add to this list, because I know you will. Connect on LinkedIn. Send an email. Okay. Now, business cards. I also handwritten notes. Handwritten notes are really important nowadays because everything's so electronic. Someone gets a handwritten note from you or thank you in the mail. Oh my gosh, they're like, whoa, wow, that's really cool. I haven't gotten one of those in a long time. And so, but let's talk about this. So if you get a business card, by the way, how many of you have physical business cards? Okay. Do you like physical business cards or do you like digital business cards? Raise your hands if you like digital business cards only. Yeah. I did a survey and that's the case. People still like business cards. Why? Because tomorrow morning I'm going to get your business card and I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit you up on LinkedIn first and I'm going to send you an email. Okay? If I don't have your business card, now I got to do the whole phone trick while I'm with you. And now there's some good phone tricks. The iPhone to iPhone is pretty slick to share your contact with people. But you still got to add their email in it because sometimes it doesn't transfer. And then I got to take a picture of it, and then I got to go back into my photos and remember the business card list person I talked to. Oh. So, business cards are still important? Right, you're laughing. That's good. So, and then the handwritten note. So this is a story. I sell laminate, and I was selling truckloads of laminate in Buffalo, New York to a retailer who had 7 stores. And when you were a rep, you went in and got intimidated by the buyer, right? And so I walked in with my little new laminate. It was a red oak called Bullseye. It was one color, 99 cents. And I showed it to him, and he kind of just sneered and then moved me out of his office. It was my first experience with this guy, Tom. So I went home and I wrote him a handwritten note and I said, thank you for your time. And I just said, bullseye, Bob, and I drew a little target with an arrow in it. He called me up, and he said, come back in. I'll give you some business. I said, nobody does that. So that's pretty cool. So he did. I ended up stocking several colors of laminate in all his stores. There's a handwritten note. That's it. I just did something different than the other reps, right? So, and I drew a little stupid thing on it, and he got a kick out of that, I guess. So that's pretty cool. And then, you know, how many of you have Calendly or calendar invite? Book a time with me. Yeah, that's really good too, because you can leave that for somebody, and it's a frictionless way for them to follow up with you. Say, hey, I'd love to do coffee. Click on my calendar invite for a time that's convenient for you. Be careful with the wording on that, because you can come across arrogant with that. Here's my calendar. Pick a time. No, please go into my calendar, pick a convenient time for you to get on my calendar. Okay? You see what I'm saying? It's important how you word things. And if you're having struggle wording things, now you got AI. Just go in and say, rewrite this to be more friendly, and it'll do it. Yeah. So, and what are some other tips for follow-up that's worked for you? Alex?
Well, I guess my question was, how do you send an email?
Yeah.
So sending an email and like sending a message or connect on LinkedIn, pretty, I think, straightforward.
Yeah.
It's more like, how do you then take that seed, right, of meeting someone and then educating them on what you do or turn it into like, not necessarily something transactional, but how do you get them from you met them to potentially being a lead or finding out more about what you do and so on and so forth.
Right, and that's why I joined the Citrus Club. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but I would invite people to either coffee or lunch. Not everybody you meet in an event is going to fall into the category of, oh, I want to meet you and learn more about you, right? So it's going to be 2 or 3 maybe at an event that you're going to want. You had a meaningful conversation with them, Alex, and then you want to invite them to coffee or lunch to find out more about them. Is that a strategy anybody's made work in here? Yeah, Kayla? Yeah, okay. Terry? Yeah. I'm sorry, your name? Cassandra? Sandra, you made that work. So tell us, can you give her the microphone real quick, please? Tell us how that worked for you.
So, well, not where I am now with PNC because I don't have the schedule that I used to have, but when I was in marketing and business development and personal injury, I did a lot of networking. That was pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would meet someone that I knew just by conversation that I had something I can do for them.
Okay.
And I would say, you know, hey, what's your schedule look like next week? I'm going to give you a call and see if we can get together.
Yeah.
I would then turn around, have lunch, see what they were looking for. From there, we would schedule another lunch.
Ooh.
I would invite an attorney. I would introduce people, and they owed me a favor because I did them a favor.
There you go.
And we just kept it moving that way.
Let me talk about something that is an elephant in the room in networking. And now, as a man getting an email from Sandra, as a male getting an email from you to do coffee, let's talk about that. So you got to be careful because I've invited females that I had great conversations with to coffee, and they thought I was hitting on them. Not so much when the woman asks the man. The man's like, yeah, be with you next Wednesday, right? A little different when the man is reaching out to a woman, a female, as a follow-up to meet. So just be socially aware of that. Bro, no one's talked about that, huh? Huh? No, you wouldn't have someone, I don't think women have a problem with that. Oh, as far as men inviting you, you're cool with that, you're saying? You've never had a problem with it? Yeah, but it's the approach, right? make sure your approach is platonic and business related. Yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, my point was when a woman's asking a man, it's not as big a deal. But when a man's asking a woman, flags go up. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. You would agree with that? Yeah. You want to talk about that? Okay, John's got it.
Yeah, I just want your opinion on something.
Yeah.
One of the things that I forgot to say in my elevator speech, and I did it on purpose as well, is that for the last 13 years I've been a independent contractor for Constant Contact,
Yeah.
an email marketing company.
Yeah, that's good.
So I've been with them for 13 years, and as of late, meaning probably the last year or so, I've been getting a lot of pushback to email is dead. Email marketing is dead.
Oh.
And I don't think it's dead in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So I'm always having a challenge. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, if somebody's open-minded enough to test something, then that's a good person to talk to, right? If they're willing to A, sign up for Constant Contact, B, use it, C, test it to see what works and doesn't work, that's a great connection for you. Somebody that's closed-minded and just says, email sucks, no one uses it, no one opens it.
Yeah, I just walk away.
Well, you need to be graceful, but those are closed-minded people. I don't run into too many closed-minded people in the Orlando market. I think most people are very open-minded. Yeah. Someone was going to share. Yep.
Okay, going back to what you were saying, when a man invites a female for a coffee, so my initial thought was like, no, I don't have a problem with that. But then I had a back step for a minute. A couple of questions ago, he talked about social media. I use social media a lot. Over 70% of my business comes from social media. So I do get concerned when a male on social media that I've never met before, which is the difference, reaches out and says, hey, I'd like to meet you and talk more about how we can do business together. That's how I step back. But if I meet you at an event like this and you ask me, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee or let's go inside, and have a drink, I have no problem with that because I've talked to you. But the social media is what gets me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Everybody has different experiences. So, yeah. All right.
Cheers, everyone.
Let's talk about, cheers. Cheers, everybody. Dressing for success is an interesting topic, right? Because, each event is different. If you're going to a gala, let's make sure you're dressed for the part, right? And, hanging out with builders, I dressed a little differently this morning than I dressed tonight as a presenter, right? So you have to be, again, socially, emotionally intelligent about what you're wearing. And if it's a networking event where there's other professionals, just, dress. Some of you are in a service business, some of you are in a blue collar situation, so you're dressed the way you should be. You're dressing with what you do, right? I help people discover and harness the power of their personal brand for ultimate success in life and business. That's my elevator speech, by the way. And so I have to dress the part because that's who I am, right? So people tell me all the time, you dress nice, and I take it as a compliment, but I don't do it because, I do it because it's who I am, okay? And I've always been that way. If you had pictures of me as a little kid, which my wife gets a chuckle at, I was wearing a vest, I was wearing a suit, I was always wearing flowery stuff in the 70s. That's how old I am. But anyway, so be approachable, be yourself, be friendly, smile, make eye contact, and dress Hello. Dress for success. Here we go. Okay. Test. What are some other ways you can be approachable and friendly? We're talking about commandment number 3. Smile. That's up there. Where's that? Family Feud. Survey says, smile, make eye contact, have a firm handshake. I can't tell you how many events I go to where I shake a man's hand and it's like a clammy fish. And I'm like, ugh. That's, yeah. Body posture, very good. Yes, that's excellent, by the way. Thank you for saying that. When you're talking to somebody, try to have your hands outside of your pockets, not fidgeting, and focus on them, and square up with them, and then look them in the eye and have a conversation and listen. And be an active listener, because active listeners acknowledge what you're saying. They make nonverbal cues that says, I'm listening to you. Now, if you're my bro, we're doing one of these. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's better, right? Okay. So you can get away with that, right, if you know somebody, you know. So handshake's important. And squaring up with people, looking them in the eye, listening, asking good questions. I think that's the key, right, to any relationships that you're forming, whether they're personal or professional. Asking really good questions. I ask a lot of questions. I actually have to check myself because I ask way too many questions of people. So, but I've always done that, even as a little kid. All right, where are we at here? Let's land the plane pretty soon, huh? Okay. Let's go back to the list. We'll do one more commandment. Which one of these do you want to talk about? We'll land the plane. How's that? Define your goals, attend industry events. What did you say? Offer value. Which one is that? 8. Okay, offer value. Any other ones that are burning that you want to hear? All right, we'll start at 8. Offering value. Why it matters to offer value. Building value equals building trust equals building relationships. It's all about trust, really. And, you know, do what you say you're going to do. If you tell somebody at a networking event, hey, I'm going to follow up and invite you to the Citrus Club, well, then do it. I invited Kayla and her husband to the Citrus Club. Did I invite you, Kayla? Okay, good. Want to make sure. So it's important, right? Like, do what you say you're going to do. Don't overpromise people anything, because then you're going to lose trust, right? Underpromise, overdeliver. And then you'll meet somebody, like last night I was at the Orlandopreneur event. I made so many commitments, I had to start a whole new note in my Apple Notes on all the I made like 5 commitments of that. That was a record for me. That's how many people I said I would introduce you to somebody. At every event, I'm always trying to introduce somebody to somebody I know in my network that may not be there. And so today I had at least 5 email introductions and invitations to send out from that one event last night. Okay? That helps build trust, by the way. Create a positive reputation and personal brand building. Like, it takes forever to build a personal brand, but it takes seconds to lose it. So you gotta always be on, right? You're on stage all the time at these networking events. Anybody that says network, oh, I got networking down, it's easy. No, it's not easy. No, I wrote a book on it, and it's not easy. And there's times I don't want to go to a networking event, and I force myself to go, and those are the ones that I actually end up being the really good ones. All right. Generate prospects and customers. I went to a American Builders Association event in March. I just gotten into a new position with a company selling flooring. I met a commercial flooring dealer there. He said, what do you do? I said, I sell wholesale flooring to dealers like you. And he said, I have a job that I need some product on. I was at his shop at 7:30 the next morning with samples. Now, I didn't get that job, but he called me a month later and said, I have a water damage emergency and I need 1,500 square feet of LVT to match this color. Do you have it? I said, I don't know, because he was texting me at 9:30 at night, and it was last Thursday, and I was on my third networking event that night, and he's texting me this. And I was at his shop at 8 in the morning after I'd been to my warehouse at 7:30 looking for that LVT. We got the job. He came up, it was a $5,000 job, and picked it up that day, and I texted him this morning, follow up. I hadn't heard from him since Friday when he bought that and put that in. And what's today? Tuesday? So I texted him this morning and go, hey Ryan, how'd that job go? He goes, perfect, thank you. I may be his go-to guy now, huh? That's from a networking event. Come on now. And I didn't hang with ABC. I don't even belong to that network yet. So, tips for offering value. Share your knowledge and experience judiciously. Don't be the know-it-all in the room. That's why I put the word judiciously there. You want to be known as an expert in your field. You want to be a subject matter expert, but you don't want to be the know-it-all in the room. Anybody know some know-it-alls? That's good. No one raised their hand. Again, I think the Orlando networking community is pretty good with that. I can think of a few know-it-alls. But anyway, you get the gist, right? This is how you offer value. You offer your expertise, and then you service them, right? That's the key, right? You could say anything you want. It's what actions are you actually going to do to offer value after you talk to that person for the first or second or third time. And then once they get hooked on your service, Terry, once they get hooked on non-hallucinogenic mushrooms, then you got something going on, right? So anyway, non-hallucinogenic. Anyway, make introductions to your network. Tato, you could introduce me to 1,000 people probably if I asked for what's in your head of the people you know, right? So, same with you, Race, right? Not as many as Tato, yeah. But anyway, your network is your net worth, so they say. I've put that to the test many times. It's true. It's true. But you got to work it. When you're in trouble, your network should be there to pick you up. I've been in trouble. My network picked me up. Big time. Yeah. And, yeah, won't go too deep into that, but it happens. Offer to help with projects. What can I do for you? I had a meeting today with a gentleman who's an architect, and he has a chairman of a nonprofit and I said, those are the words I asked him. And I took notes. And I pulled out my notebook and showed him that I actually wrote down what he told me. Right? So when you're having those one-on-ones and those sit-downs, take good notes. People love it when you're like listening and taking notes. Like, wow, that's refreshing. Huh. And I use, didn't plan on doing this, but a quick plug. I use a Remarkable 2. If you don't have one of these, you need to get one as a networker, because you can open up a network, a notebook on here, and it, like if I had 4 meetings with you, Terry, which I have had many meetings, I can go up, I can just search your name, Terri, and it'll pop up every time I talk to you in the notebook. 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to land the plane. But these are great, and they sync to your phone, and they sync to your laptop. So if you don't have the pad near you and someone asks you something, you can go to the Remarkable app on your phone. It's called the Remarkable, Remarkable number 2. You can find them at Best Buy. They're expensive. They're $650. But there's no other apps on it. It is a note-taking device, period. And that's what I love about it. When you write on it, it feels like you're writing on paper. It's got just enough roughness and scratchiness. And I use the calligraphy pen on that. But take notes when people are talking to you. All right. I don't even know where we're going with that. All right, we're landing. Promote other people's business or organization. That's another great way to offer value, right? When I go to an event, I try to get a lot of pictures, okay? And you gotta force yourself to do that. And selfies don't work as good on LinkedIn and Facebook. And just give me a little tip here. By the way, a quick LinkedIn tip. You know where you can put your pronouns, he, him, she, her? You can put whatever you want there. You can put two different things. Mine says sales leader and business connector. So there's a little tip for you. Use that. And take pictures, tag people, tag their businesses. That offers them value when you do that. And if somebody tags you, here's some advice and some etiquette. Respond. If someone tags you on Facebook or tags you on LinkedIn, use that as, it's like, thank you. I even thank people for liking my posts. How's that? Hey, I saw you like my post. Thanks for liking it. I'll DM them. And if you leave me a message or a comment, 100% I will respond to your comment with at least 12 words because the algorithm loves it. All right. What are some other ways to add value? And then we're going to do a raffle and get you some books in your hands. What are some other ways? Can you hand these out one to everybody, please? Absolutely. Thank you. What are some other ways you can offer value? Somebody? Anybody? That's a tough one. It's not easy. Anything we didn't cover on how to offer value? Yeah. Yeah, John.
If you're going to an event, you can offer them a ride. You know, go with me.
Okay.
To ABC event.
Okay.
And I'll introduce you to some people that I know.
Okay. You can offer them a ride. Guys, I don't recommend you do that to a woman, but guy to guy or girl to girl, again. Just really, really careful. All right. Cool. Great idea. Or if someone's drunk, offer to get them a cab or a Uber. Okay, so what's being handed out to you right now is all the things I do in my coaching life and writing life. I'm an authorpreneur as well as an entrepreneur. And so there's a QR code there. Later on, you can scan it, take a quick survey, and I'll give you a one-on-one coaching session. Has anyone in here done a coaching session one-on-one with me? Oh, yes, Ashley. Yeah, how did that go? Oh, yeah? I paid you to say that. Okay. Well, you have to ask. Ask. You know, it's simple. You have not because you ask not in this world. If you want someone's business or you want their attention, ask. Be nice about it. Be genuine, but ask. That's the key to anything. If you don't ask, you don't try. You won't get it. So, awesome. Let's do a raffle, eh? I'm done.